Round 13 was unlucky for some, but we've got Origin on the horizon and a whole list of games for round 14. So let's get into it. What is happening, guys? It's your boy Burgz here from the Casual Athlete, and today we're going to be hitting you with another tipping and predictions video. This week, it's round 14 up on the clock. So, without further ado, let's take a look back at how we did last week. As you can see, guys, we had a pretty standard week last week, 4 out of 5 correct. Unfortunately, we didn't get that Warriors game right. I think that they just blew so many chances coming out of the gate. They bombed at least 3 or 4 tries there and almost had a chance to level it up at the bell as well. And, you know, it's just one of those things where sometimes those calls go your way, sometimes they don't. And for the Warriors, it seems to be not going their way at the moment. Good win for the Dolphins. Parramatta, I think, as well, took their foot off the gas against the Cowboys, really let them back into that game and almost gave my boys a sniff. So I think that was a little bit dicey there for a moment. We should have hit the 13 plus there. But aside from that, pretty good results all across the week and finishing it off with the Nova Castrians getting a win out at Newcastle. They made it a bit difficult through a few intercepts, I will say that as well. But they got the win, and that is a very important win for Newcastle. All right, guys, with all of that being taken into account, let's get into the games for round 14. We're going to be starting off with Origin on Wednesday night out at Adelaide Oval, and it is a potential home game, you might call it, for the Queensland Maroons up against the New South Wales Blues. And in this game, I am wearing my Blues outfit at the moment, guys. Had to put it on to support the fellas, but there's been a lot of talk over these two teams in the last couple of weeks leading up to this game. It's going to be a big blockbuster. I will say that. I just think that the Blues didn't pick the right squad. Tavita Pangai, was that the right decision? Payne Haas has picked up a bit of an injury in camp as well. Nicho Hynes moving to the bench. Yes, he did it for Melbourne, but I didn't really see too much of him playing in the middle, playing a bit of 9. I think if Api Coruscant gets a bit tired out there, I don't think Nicho Hynes is going to be the answer to come in there, especially if Api Coruscant even gets injured as well. So it's going to be a pretty hard-hitting game, but I'm actually going to give the Maroons the tip here. I just think that their team that they've picked, it's on form, and they're really firing at the moment. I think Kalen Ponga did not deserve to be picked, and so Reece Walsh is now in there, and he is electric. He's a bit of a Kalen Ponga Jr., has a lot of good traits there and can find the open man. I think that's something that the Blues have got to watch out for. If they don't get beat up down the middle, they could get beaten up on the edges. And I think that the Maroons, if they win this game, they will probably go on to win the series, with the second game being in Suncorp. And I'm actually going to go the Maroons 1-12 in this one, guys. I hate to do it, but Freddie, you did me dirty, mate, and I can't forgive you for that one. Maroons 1-12. Moving on to our NRL games this week, guys, we have the Tigers taking on the Raiders. First appearance for the Tigers on Friday Night Football. And I'll tell you what, guys, the streak has continued. I am 13 from 13 on the first game of the round in this competition. And this is probably my most tough uh, challenge to date. I just think that the Tigers, yes, they played some great football against the Cowboys, but had a week off. And the Raiders, they got a pretty good win against a depleted Rabbitohs side last week. I just think the Raiders are a little bit overhyped at the moment. The Tigers, for me, seem to be building a bit of momentum, but a lot of it has come off the back of Api Coruscant. And if he backs up 2 days after a pretty intense Origin game, I will be surprised. So with that in mind, guys, I'm going to go with the Raiders on Friday night. A dicey one, but I think they get it done 1-12. Next up, we move to Saturday's games, guys, where we have the Warriors taking on the Dolphins. And the Dolphins, they got a win last week. Warriors, bit unlucky, as I spoke about in the intro. I just think that the Warriors just a little bit down on troops and lacked a bit of execution that would have got them over the line against the Broncos. And they leaked far too many points, and you can't do that with this Broncos side. Regardless of the players that they had out, their defense is still going to be pretty good. It's up there with some of the best in the competition. But the Dolphins, on the other hand, if they get the hammer back, from that origin period. I do think that they are going to be very threatening in this game. Traveling though to Auckland, it could be a bit of a difficult task for them. Again, another barnstormer here. I can't really split these two teams on paper. Sixth versus eighth. I'm going to go with the Warriors, guys. I backed them last week, but I think they get it done against Wayne Bennett's Dolphins, 1-12. Next up on Saturday, guys, we have the Titans taking on the Rabbitohs. And the Rabbitohs, they were so strong last week despite missing 3 to maybe 4 players. I think Latrell, Campbell Graham being out really helped them. Matangi just coming back, but not quite at full fitness yet, I would say. And the Titans side who had a week off. So I just think that at home, the Titans will be a bit more prepared, especially having that week off. It'll depend a little bit on whether this Rabbitohs side get those Origin players back. It'll be 3 days removed from Origin. Whether Latrell can play a full game at center in Origin and then play a full game at fullback, we know it's one of the most demanding positions on the field. And Campbell Graham should be back for this game. So that is a big plus for the Rabbitohs there. And the Titans, I've been iffy about picking the Titans all year. They're going to be missing their 2 best players, David Fifita and Tino, due to Origin. Whether they back up or not, entirely up to how that game goes on Wednesday night. But I think the safe bet here is the Rabbitohs. They showed enough last week with a depleted team against the Raiders that they are still one of the competition favorites this year. So I'm going to go Rabbitohs, and I think it will be close, 1-12. Next up, guys, we've got the Sharks taking on the Broncos on Saturday night. And I tell you what, second versus third here, and it is going to be a fantastic game on Saturday night. I think the Sharks are going to be less impacted by that origin period as well. They're only really missing Nico Hines from their team at the moment, and he's only playing off the bench on Wednesday night. So I think he'll want to back up for the Sharks on Saturday. I think he's going to get enough time in between there, especially not playing probably as many minutes as he normally does in an NRL game. The Broncos, on the other hand, well, they've got a little bit of troubles. Yes, they got a win against the Warriors, but I do not think that they were the better team in that game. Reynolds controlled the game very well, and I think that's what helped the Broncos establish a bit of a footing and got them on the front foot to be able to apply some scoreboard pressure. And then it was a lot of comeback energy coming from the Warriors last week. Again, this game is a very tough one to tip, guys. It could go either way. And I want to back the Sharks so badly, but I've seen them be weak in the middle. And with that being said, I'm actually going to tip the Broncos this week, guys. Yes, that's right. But I think it's going to be close, 1-12. And I think if Payne Haas, Pat Carrigan, and Tom Flegler can come back from that Origin game and put in a good effort, then the Sharks middles aren't going to be able to go with them. Hamlin Uele is still coming back. Royce Hunt, probably not the preferred starter there. Their forward pack is a little lean for me, and it might not be able to handle this Broncos monstrous forward pack. So, with that being said, I'll go Broncos 1-12. Next game up, guys, we move to Sunday now, and there are 3 games on Sunday this week. First up, we have the Roosters taking on the Dogs. And the Dogs, yeah, they had a week off last week. So did the Roosters, but this is a bit of a poo slinger, this one. I'm not exactly sure where to go. The cards could fall in favor of the Roosters, but I could very easily seeing the Dogs winning this game just based on the Roosters' outs and whether Tedesco comes back as well. It could be very difficult for the Roosters. Radley going to be out as well with that headbutt incident. I just think that the Roosters aren't finding ways to win games at the moment. They seem to be more finding ways to lose them just based on their efforts against the Dragons. I just think the Dogs are in a better position to win this game. They don't have too many commitments to Origin. Yes, Addo-Carr got picked, but will he back up on the back of having a pretty long surgery-based injury? It's tough to say, but Burton's actually playing some pretty decent football at the moment. I'm going to pick the Dogs, guys, as outsiders in this one. They're paying $3.10, so I'd be looking at getting on this one. I'm going to go Dogs 1-12. The next game on Sunday, guys, is my Cowboys up against the Melbourne Storm at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. And last week, I don't think they were really in that game. The Cowboys against the Eels. It just, the scoreline flattered us a fair bit. And, I think that if the Eels weren't the team that they are, where they let teams into the game late and let them score a few tries to make it look a bit close, then we would have been heading home with another 13 plus loss. I just didn't think the troops were there. Again, with us backing up this week, I think the players that are backing up for the Storm are much more important and better. I don't think Harry Grant is going to play a full game for Queensland. So, yeah, I think it's going to be easier for him to back up. They don't have as many commitments this year to Origin, the Storm, as they usually do, with guys like Felice Kafusi moving on. So, yeah, again, as well, the Storm have a great record in Queensland, and I think it's actually going to be 3 losses on the trot for the Cowboys. I just don't see a way for us to win this game. The Storm, before the bye, had a pretty good win against the Dolphins, and then now they've had a week off to think about that, get a bit more, rest into the legs, and they're going to come out firing. And the Cowboys just languishing down in 16th at the moment. I'm kind of waiting for the game where the slaughter just ends and, we're sent off on our merry way into the next off season. I just don't see us competing at this point in time, not at the levels that we were this time last year. So in this one, unfortunately, I've got to go the Storm 13 plus. Final game takes us out to Penrith, guys, where we have the Panthers taking on the Dragons. And Penrith have got a lot of players playing Origin this week, 6 in total. And I don't think it'll show that badly against the Dragons, who really only have Ben Hunt out of this game, potentially. That's if he backs up. He probably won't be playing a full game, so that helps the Dragons there. But I just think that the Panthers are going to be way too strong. They've finally gotten back to the top of the ladder. It took them a while to get there, but they are now in first, the Panthers, and we've seen what they can do when they are running in that first position. The Dragons, well, they just bottled it against the Dolphins, didn't come out with the right energy, didn't have really a solid game plan, didn't have Ben Hunt, and that didn't help either, but I just never gave them a shot against the Dolphins. They were always going to lose that game, and I think they're going to lose this one as well. And it's going to be another week of potential disappointment because, yeah, I just think this Dragon side, they're not playing the kind of football that they want to be. And I think it might be a personnel thing. Yes, Ryan Carr got them a win in their first week, but how long do you expect that to continue when they haven't committed to a new coach for the next season? I just don't see it eventuating for the Dragons at the moment, and I think they're going to stay down in 17th place. First versus last, first generally comes out on top, guys. I'm going Panthers 13 plus. So that's it for this week's tipping and predictions video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Please make sure that you go to the Casual Athlete store to get all your favorite sporting apparel. Please make sure that you like and subscribe. We're bringing out so much content over the coming weeks, guys. So stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you on the next one.